I have found that if you get out of your comfort zone and do that thing you're scared of, all of a sudden you just jumped light years ahead.
Yeah.
You will find the most personal growth by doing things you don't want to do, things that you're scared of doing, things that you've been putting off. Do that thing. And you'll look back right away and go, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Without Fear of Her Future podcast for women who are passionately pursuing financial freedom, using multiple streams of income and real estate to accomplish their goals. We are here to empower you to be brave, dream big, and design a life that you love that inspires others to do the same. I'm your co-host, Tresa Todd, founder of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and author of the book, Without Fear of Her Future.
And I'm Melissa Baker, your other co-host. I'm a real estate investor and fitness coach specializing in turning properties from drab to fab. I'm here to help motivate and inspire you to build your dream life because, girl, you deserve it. Today, we are talking to Casey Franchini. Casey is the founder of Brick by Brick Wealth, former broker turned successful real estate investor and mother to 3. Casey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys, for having me on your show today.
We are so excited you are here. Casey, can we start out just by having you tell us a little bit about how you got started investing in real estate?
Absolutely. It is a long story, but I'll make it a short one today. I got in real estate. I really started back in 2007. I got my real estate broker license when, after I graduated college, I had a quote real job for a little bit of time until I realized I didn't like the 1.5 hour commute there and back and driving home in the dark. And I thought, this can't be my way of life. Like, this is not what I thought my life would end up being. So I decided to get my my real estate license because I said, well, one day I'm going to be a mom. One day I'm going to have kids. And I don't think I want to be gone from 7 to 7. So I thought, hey, I'll get to make my own schedule and, all the things everyone thinks when they want to be a real estate agent. So I started off in Southern California as a real estate agent. I had my broker's license. And it was really hard for me at the time to get listings because I was only in my 20s and I looked really young then. And, Orange County, California is really expensive. And I looked young. Nobody wanted, a girl who looked like she was 16 to sell their $1 million home. It's truth. So I found my niche with real estate investors. So there was a lot. Flipping was, really popular in California. And so I had a realtor friend who introduced me to one of his clients who had a friend who I then helped find flips for. So that kind of got started on the investing side of it, helping find flips for real estate investors. And that's kind of how I got into understanding about real estate and all that.
That's awesome. I was following you on your social media and you're just so impressive. I just love to see you started so young and you've accomplished so much. And it's just absolutely incredible. Yes. Incredible. I want to talk a little bit about the side hustle that you started as a stay-at-home mom to save up for your first real estate investment.
Awesome. So we moved to Memphis. So again, remember, I'm from SoCal, and we moved to Memphis in 2013. I had a 2-year-old, a 3-week-old, a cat. My husband got a brand new job doing something he had no experience really in. And we moved across the country on my mother-in-law's birthday. She drove our cars out. We flew out with the baby and the cat. That's a crazy story. But we got here and knew nobody, had no friends, no family, didn't know a soul. And I said, okay, Blake, to my husband, I want to buy real estate this time. We live in Memphis. It's one of the top real estate investing places in the world. And we should really, not be chickens and just do it. We made several offers on rentals in Southern California, but never actually went far enough, to get the deal closed. I think I was just scared. Didn't know anyone who did it before, no one to help me. Really could have used a coach back then, even though I had experience, flipping and rehabbing properties, just rentals was just different. So never really went forward with that. And so when we got to Memphis, I said, we're going to do this. And he's like, well, Casey, we just bought a house, a fixer. You don't have income, so if you want to buy rentals, you're going to have to figure out how to save up for the down payment. I'm like, well, I thought I moved here to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm not going to get a job. That wasn't the deal. I got my house with the pool and I get to stay home. So he's like, yeah, well, if you want to buy houses, we're going to have to figure something out. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to go get a job, right? I have 2 little babies. I want to stay home with them. What can I do to save up for this property that I want to buy? And I was like, well, I don't really want to do real estate anymore right now. Like, I don't want to be an agent, because who wants to be a buyer's agent all the time? Okay, no. Don't want to do the driving. And so I said, okay, well, I like to make crafts, right? Something that I like to do. What girl doesn't like glitter and cutting and all that? But I'm not creative and I can't draw. I can do a stick figure. So who's going to buy anything that I make? So I decided to get one of those Cricut machines, like a silhouette, like a die cutting machine. And I started an Etsy shop, and I sold personalized items on Etsy and Facebook resale sites, and did porch pickup. And little things like $5 stuffed bunny rabbits to like $25 bridesmaid hangers and some Santa sacks, all sorts of stuff, anything I could think of to sell that I can make and sell. In about a year and a half, I had saved up $20,000. We used that for our first down payment. And I did all these things, during my kids' naps, on the weekends, when my husband got home from work. I'd run upstairs. This was my craft room. Now it's my real estate room. But that's how I got started. It was grueling. It was, spending an hour making a $10 item, but I did what I needed to do to save up the money. And, that's how we got the funds for our first property.
I love it. I love it. Where there's a will, there's a way. And that's exactly what you did. And you didn't want to get a job away from your family, and you figured out a way to make it happen. Took a while, So I love it that you didn't use OPM, other people's money, for that first deal. Did that come later? And how did that? Yeah, tell me about that.
We are still, want to do everything ourselves. So no, we don't grow super fast, and no, we don't use other people's money and crazy tactics or, things that are high leverage. We just save up and buy one, save up and buy one. Okay. And we're sticking with a single family. Small multifamily out here in Memphis is not existent. If you want multifamily, it's going to be in the hood, or it's going to be in a revitalized downtown area where it's really ritzy and expensive. Okay. So it's like single family is what you have to do. And we really enjoy the rehab process. We fixed up many houses, we fixed up other people's houses as well. So we could just, put in some sweat equity, and we own all the tools that they sell at Home Depot and Lowe's. We have them all in our garage. It's like whenever anyone comes over, I'm like, close the garage door, like make them come through the front, because they might like trip and fall and get into our door. Yeah. So we really enjoy doing the work ourselves, and we just save up and buy one at a time.
I love it. I love it. And we actually, when we got here yesterday, Melissa opened her car. We were getting something out, and that she had all the tools and all this tile in her back, in her back seat. I'm like, yep, you're a real estate investor.
Indeed.
My husband was just earlier.
What was that?
I said just earlier, my husband was sending me floor plans we bought a house 2 weeks ago, and he's sending me kitchen designs. Okay, how about this? How about this layout? How about this layout? He's got he can do 3D CAD drawings, and he's got this kitchen model going on. We can put the washer and dryer here and the pantry here, or, so that's what's going on today.
Yeah, I love it.
And you've done all of that while being a stay-at-home mom. So tell us what your secret is there with being a great mom while you're balancing this career.
Really, I think the secret is having 2 secrets. One, having a partner, that really supports you and you're on the same page. There's no way I would do any of this by myself. Like my husband would have to want to do it with me personally. Like, I don't think I could do this without his support and him getting excited about it and wanting to do it too. I just don't think it would really happen. So I think, like, one, having, if you're married or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, having that person be on board and sharing that same dream really, really keeps it going. That plus, having something else to do besides be at home. I think especially for, young moms, when I was a brand new mom, now my kids are almost 12. Next week she'll be 12. And then I have a 9-year-old going to be 10, and then an almost 6-year-old. So, having something to do outside of your day-to-day is really important. And so I have, formed a big friend group in the neighborhood and got involved with my HOA and, created events for the neighborhood. And I didn't know anyone, remember? So I had to make my own friends. I had to make stuff happen around me. So, having things to do and having friends and getting out of the house, I think it's so dumb to talk about, but I think that's really important.
Oh, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Balancing it all is very tricky. So tell us, how are you finding the properties that you're investing in?
So we really keep an eye on the market all the time. Even when we're not looking to buy, we have to keep our eye on the market, and we have to look every single day at what's for sale. I'm not always like hounding it every day when I'm not looking, but I have my searches set, and every time a new listing comes with a price reduction or something is, rents out, I get notified and I look at it. To me, it's important to always be aware of what the prices are in your neighborhood, how fast things are going, and what the rental market is doing. Because when I'm ready to buy, I need to know exactly what neighborhoods, what price I can get in at, what they'll rent for. So I look on the MLS. I found all my properties on the MLS. Well, I guess they have been on the MLS, but I did have one property. I bought one, and then the neighbor said, "Hey, you want to buy mine?" So kind of did that. And then I have a call with another potential seller today. I own the house next door, and I made friends with all the neighbors. And, she called and said, "Hey, Casey, literally she called me yesterday. I don't know if you remember me. My name is Cindy. I live next door to your rental property. I'm thinking about selling. So I'm going to meet with her on Friday." So those sorts of things, when people start knowing what you're doing, I've had referrals from my investor friends, because I go to my investor meetings. Some old guys, they don't want to buy up the world anymore, and they'd love to pass on a great deal to someone that they know. And you show up to the meetings, you get to befriend people, they trust you. And the old guys are like, "Hey, I've got this deal passed to me. It's not good for me because I'm, about to retire, but it might be good for you. You're young. How about, and I've gotten referrals and stuff that way from potential off-market deals, but it's usually word of mouth or just looking on the good old MLS.
Looking on the MLS. Okay, so tell me a little bit about contingent and pending properties. Is that what you're looking for when you're searching the MLS?
So when the market is, when the market's hot, especially, and I know the market has changed all over the country, since the vid. In Memphis, it's still going strong. I mean, I think it's something like 70% of buyers are still out of state investors, and 50% of the offers in the hot, areas are all cash. So it's still really competitive here. I know, it's crazy. I heard that in my investing meeting 2 months ago. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great statistic. That sucks, but good to know. So I'm always looking at properties that people are skipping. So if you get your phone and you looking at realtor.com, what are you doing when you see pending or contingent? Swipe, swipe, swipe. You're swiping by, oh, it's sold. It's already sold. Someone's already got that. And my students do that too in my coaching program. Like, oh yeah, it says contingent or pending, so I'm skipping it. Like, don't skip it. To me, that I've gotten 2 properties from contingents. And when properties seem to be sold, people pass them by. And contingent listings, if the contingencies have been removed, or that property being sold is dependent upon another property getting bought or sold at the same time. I mean, whoa, that's a lot of moving parts. It's a high failure rate. And I want to be on the listing agent's radar that I'm available and I'm interested. Maybe I missed it, before, and I didn't get my offer in sooner. Or maybe they didn't pick my offer. They went with someone else, and maybe that buyer will fall out for whatever reason. I always want to be there. So what I do is, after it's been on the market for 8 days, because usually there's a 10-day contingency period for inspection, right? And that's usually the first time that people will back out so they can get their earnest money back. Around day 8, I'll pay attention, right? And I will call and say, "Hey, listing agent, my name is Casey. I'm still interested in your property that you have on 123 Main Street. I know that, it's currently contingent, but I was just curious, like, do you think it's going to go through with your current buyer, or do you think it might fall out and you might put it back on the market?" And, they might say, "Well, how did you know to call?" They did the inspection, and I'm pretty sure they're getting pretty picky, and I think I might be going back on the market. And I'm like, "Well, don't do that. Let me come put in an offer." And you don't have to go through all the work of putting it back on the market and taking phone calls and show, because the agents don't want to do that. I know, I was an agent. They'd rather just have a new offer ready to go for their seller, just like, look what I got came in the mail, So we've gotten things accepted twice that way, looking at pendings and contingents.
I love that strategy.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
How do you keep it organized with the contingent? Do you have a system in place, or how do you keep up with the contingent listings?
So there's usually just a few properties at a time that really meet my buy box that I'm paying attention to. So if I'm not already making an offer on that property, I'm going to remember. I mean, I got a spreadsheet, but I really don't use it. I'm going to remember there's a house on Vern, there's a house on Martha. Like, I'll know, shoot, I missed it, or shoot, we try and get that one. So I'm going to remember, Blake will remember. And, I might write down on my calendar, day 8 call on Vern Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Nice. What about REO? Can you explain what REO is and how investors can benefit from it?
Sure. So REOs are real estate owned properties. They were foreclosures that didn't get sold on the auction block, and the bank owns them. So a bank doesn't really want to own property. That's not what they're for. But since the last market crash, 2008, when they had tons of REOs, tons of foreclosures, and the banks really learned how to maximize their, their profit on those losses. And so they've kind of streamlined it. Like back then, you used to be able to pick up an REO for a really good price because they didn't want to do the work fixing it up. It was a foreclosure, right? The owners didn't have money to fix up the property. They didn't pay their taxes. They didn't pay their mortgage. Like they weren't keeping up with the property. So it had, tons of repair problems and, tons of issues. It needed like complete rehabs, usually a lot of these foreclosures. But since then, the banks have gotten a little bit savvy and they've now got their own crews to fix them up and stuff like that. But right now, I'm not really seeing a lot of REOs because there aren't a lot of foreclosures. Since the last market crash, the banks have tightened up their lending. We don't have any more subprime lending. We have really strong borrowers. People have equity in their properties, like a lot of equity. And they really don't want to lose their equity, one. And two, they don't want to lose that great interest rate that they refinanced to, right, a couple of years ago at 3 to 4%. So whereas back in the day, they're like, I'm going to lose. I don't care. Let's foreclose. Let's short sell because my rate's high. My property's worth 50% of what it was before. And let's just take the loss and take the credit hit for the next 7 to 10 years, But now they're like, heck no, I'm not risking my house. I'm going to get a second job. I'll get 5 jobs. Like I'm not losing this 3% interest rate. And I'm not losing this, $50,000, $60,000 equity that I have in my house. People will figure it out. So we're not seeing a lot of foreclosures. Therefore, we're not getting a lot of REOs. But, if you do see any bank-owned properties, banks don't have a lot of them anymore. I'm guessing they don't have those teams that they had back then in 2008, 9, 10. I don't think that they have. They probably don't. I don't know. I'm still guessing that they don't have these big REO teams anymore. So you might be able to get with the person who's in charge of REOs at the bank and maybe get those properties purchased for a discount. But you weren't really getting the deals so much.
I so agree. I just don't even waste my time with them because I agree. You're not going to get them at a really decent price. And it's such a long process to go through the bank. So I'm like you. I'm not a big fan of even wasting my time with the REOs.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about, as an investor, do you typically pick up as many properties as you can? I think you're saying you kind of just know when you want to buy, when you don't. So are you looking for more quality over quantity? What is your thought process and your strategy?
So we are definitely quality over quantity. And I know that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But, and sometimes I'm not even an investor. I mean, I'm so picky with what I buy, and we buy everything ourselves and we don't use other people's money. We just save. But to me, like I manage my own properties, and I don't want to manage in bad areas. I don't want to manage D-class properties. And I'm really kind of over managing C-class properties too. The tenants, the quality is not there. I want to buy a property in a B to A class neighborhood. A class would be great. Usually those don't cash flow, right? So we're looking for B class neighborhoods, starter entry neighborhoods where, college graduates will get married and buy a house together. Like you want, they're still affordable, but they're not in like sketchy neighborhoods where there's a crackhead down the street. Like, no, that's a C class, maybe D. But you want to buy in something, in my opinion, I want to buy, I guess I should say, in a more of a B class neighborhood. So those cost more. And the types of neighborhoods are a little more specific because you want to be in the good school zones, the ones that have the highest rents. And a lot of times those properties are more owner occupied. Those neighborhoods, are more owner occupied than tenant occupied. So when you do see them for sale, they're usually not in bad shape
Yeah.
because they had mostly owners have occupied these homes. So there's not tons of like rehab opportunities to fully gut job and do the burr or something like that. So we're always looking for, we love a grandma house is what I call it. And grandma houses are ones where grandma has lived there for 50 years and everything's outdated, but it's in really great shape.
Yeah.
She always had someone take care of the property. It might have wallpaper and, green tile bathrooms, but everything works and everything's in good condition. And you might find hardwood floors under the carpet. Like that's my favorite. I don't really want to buy a house that's been a rental 20 times over.
True.
We know what kinds of repairs a lot of times the landlords do or property managers on rentals. So I prefer a B-class neighborhood and nice properties that I can get a good rent, because if I can get, $1,500 a month rent or more, I'm now capturing someone who has to make 3 times $1,500 a month. They're going to have to make $50,000 or more a year. And to me, that's a pretty decent income. Now if I go get a duplex or a triplex somewhere and rents are $650 for a 1-bedroom, I'm getting that type of tenant that all they can afford is $650 a month, so I mean, part-time at Walmart. I don't know, but no thanks. I want someone who's going to take care of my property, someone who has maybe a 6-figure income earner and gets their furniture from Pottery Barn and has Christmas parties with their friends and drinks wine. I want those types of tenants because they take care of my property. They pay on time. They have amazing credit scores. They won't be there forever. They'll save up and move out, but my house won't be demolished when they leave. It'll be nice, and I won't have too much to do to fix it up. And the appreciation will be there. Those lower properties, those classes D and C is fine, but they don't appreciate as much as A and B. And cash flow is super important, especially when you're just starting out. But people don't get rich on $300 to $500 a month. They don't.
No,
people get rich over time, buying several properties and letting time do its thing, buying in good neighborhoods and getting that really good appreciation. Like there's an old guy, I always talk about the old guys. There's an old guy investor that I know, and he's, the big dog in the Memphis investor group. And he only now buys A-class homes in Nashville.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what he does now. So he's got enough money. He's like, I'm not messing with any B class even. No C, definitely no D. I'm buying A class for appreciation in Nashville. And so eventually that's what you want.
That's right.
You start off with C and B, but you don't want to end up there. So why would I start off there? I'm going to buy B class properties. That's what my focus is. I'm really trying to stay away even from the C class if I can help it.
Sure. So you self-manage all of your properties, and I'm curious, it sounds to me like you do mostly long-term rentals. I'd love to hear about your portfolio and then any tips that you have for investors who manage their properties.
So yes, so we do long-term rentals. We've put in several offers on a lake house 3 hours away in Arkansas for a short-term rental to kind of make as our lake house too. But again, since it's ours, we're a bit picky. Hadn't happened yet. One day. The house we bought this past year, we completely remodeled it. I mean, it's beautiful. It could definitely be like a short-term rental. And I thought about it, and man, we got Graceland. We got a really high touristy area by us. But I'm like, do I really want to do the work for a short-term rental? No, I don't. I don't want to do the work. I hate talking to tenants as it is, never mind having to talk to people about how to turn the TV on every 3 days when we get a new person. I would just die. I'm in this for a passive income. I do not want an active role. I do not want a job. I do not want a real estate job as far as managing a short-term rental. Now, if we did our lake house, I already got a 5-star super host who's going to do it for me because I don't want nothing to do with that, And midterm rentals would be great too. It's a nice happy medium. But again, I don't want to do the work. I just want a long-term rental and that's it. I don't want to have to worry about utilities and furniture and breaking things. And, for me, it's not for me, but it's a great strategy. It's an amazing strategy. It's great. And just because I don't like to do it doesn't mean that you shouldn't like to do it. Every strategy is great and there's something for everybody out there. But we like to do long-term rentals. To me, that's the passive income way. And I do manage my own. I've got some great horror stories. And I would say, if I could give any tips, to people that are looking to self-manage, my number one tip would be to screen your tenants as well as possible And don't freak out if it doesn't get rented right away. Don't just, I have to put somebody in there because it's been a month. No, do not give in on your criteria. Don't give in, because no tenant is better than a bad tenant, hands down. So make sure you stick to your criteria. If you have a certain credit score, or you want them to have, certain 3 times the rent, or, no evictions, no bankruptcies on their record, no bad, issues with past landlords. Make sure they have references you can call, at least, past landlord references. I don't usually call it, like, who wants, like, your friend's always going to say something nice. Like, no, I don't want to talk to your mom and your friend about how great you are. I want to talk to past landlords and see if you pay on time, or if you're a problem tenant. Are you high maintenance? Do you call about light bulbs? No, thank you.
Sure.
I'm in all these Facebook groups, and it's so funny to hear, I got this long-term tenant, and usually it's a short-term, but the long-term tenant, and they are every single day it's something else that needs to be fixed. I'm like, oh God, but screening tenants, you have to screen them, and you have to make sure that you're getting the best quality tenant possible. And like I said, the old guy, right? The old guy told me this one. Actually, he told someone, he told me, he said this, your tenants will look like your property. I'm like,
yeah.
So if you do a really bad job on your rehab, and you put subpar materials with, the cheapest labor, and it looks bad, guess who's going to rent your property? Is that Pottery Barn Furniture 6-figure income earner going to rent that? No. You're going to get worst case scenario, a tenant who couldn't qualify, who's got the Doberman pinscher, who just broke up. Like, you're getting that person in your property. So if you want to have good quality tenants, you have to provide a quality property. Do a good job with repairs. In my opinion, don't paint the ceilings, the doors, the trim with a sprayer all one color. Make it look nice, and you'll get quality people. That's what it's all about. Your tenants, protect your investment.
What I hear is that what you want and what you don't want. You're very clear about that.
Oh, yeah.
Clear about that.
Very clear.
I love it.
Hey, Casey, you've mentioned the old guy a couple of times. I'm just curious if he is a mentor. How did you learn all this? Where was it? Did he play a part in that? Or where did you get all this knowledge that you are sharing with us today?
Well, a lot of knowledge is all really just trial and error, self-learning, doing it all myself. The old guy, like, I go to my investor meetings. I try to go every month, and there's always these old guys. There's an old guy, 2 old guys. One in my neighborhood who is a big investor. He has a lot of units, and sometimes I'll call him and say, oh, do you have a tile guy, or do you have this guy or that guy? Because he does so many properties, he's always got guys. And if I don't like my guy or whatever, and I've, made him mad or whatever, then I need a new guy. And so I usually call him, and he always wants to tell stories. And that's one great thing about investor groups. If anyone's looking to, get connections, is go to the investor groups, because those old guys that are there, they've lived their life for real estate. Like, they go there because they want to share all their knowledge. They want to tell you the stories.
Yep.
They want to tell you about their good deals. They want to tell you about their bad deals.
Yeah.
They want to give you deals if they find some. Like, they go to those meetings because real estate is their life, and they want to share it with the younger generation. So I go to these meetings, and I hear all sorts of stuff from all sorts of people. And
I agree.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think belonging to investor networks is just pivotal if you really want to grow a portfolio. If you're just looking to do 1 or 2 deals a year, then maybe not. But if you really, and like you said, that's the best place to find the tile guy or the roof guy or the best title company and all of those things. What do you, as our listeners, what should they know about the importance of maybe a mentorship or network? What do you think about those things?
I think that if I had known about mentorships from the very beginning, because when I started real estate, Facebook wasn't even a thing. It was like, type in how you're feeling. I feel happy, right? Feeling like that's what Facebook was to me back then. Like, I didn't know about, there was no real internet. Internet was there, but none of this was here. Okay. There was no coaching programs that I was ever aware of. There was no mentorship, none of that. It was just go to school. if I had had what is available today to me then, I would be in such a different place. I would have bought those properties in California. And when we moved here just a couple years, I think maybe it's 3 or 4 years ago now, because I've been here 10 years. 3 or 4 years ago, I was in my attic cleaning it out, and I found a tub of offers because, right, we had to keep hard copies for 5 years. So I brought them with me to Memphis. I got to keep these hard copies. So I kept them, and I found over 40 different offers that I had just brain farted and forgot all about. I forgot I even made offers on rentals.
Oh, wow.
I was like, had the chills. I'm like, I must have pushed this out of my brain because I was so upset about it. I was like, Blake, do you remember this? We made over 40 offers. Here they are. And I had the addresses. So I went and looked them up. Those properties were $145,000 in Fontana, California back then. And today they're worth $500,000. Yeah. And then they even cash flowed. They cash flowed. I know they cash flowed then. I did not have someone to tell me, yes, it's a good deal.
Yes.
You know, I didn't have the validation. I didn't have the help. I didn't know anyone who did rentals. I only knew people that had accidental rentals or they flipped. No one bought rentals on purpose in California. But if I would have had a mentor tell me this is a good deal, I would have bought so many and I would be so much richer.
Well, it doesn't seem to have slowed you down.
That's
You've definitely
right.
done some amazing things.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you are excited about working on next and what your goals are for the future?
So we bought a property 2 weeks ago that needs a lot of work. So we are doing that, getting quotes, deciding if we're going to do the work ourselves this time or hire it out. We've only hired out once before. But we got kids in baseball and have real homework now instead of easy homework. So it's like, well, we don't have time to go fix up the house. We have to help Juliet with her math. So, we're working on that rehab. And as far as like our future goals, I used to have a goal of, I want 10 properties paid off. 10 single families paid off would give me $100,000 a year in rental income. That I'm like, well, that's great. That's an amazing job. Blake could quit his job if he wants, no big deal. And we reached that with property 6. And I totally forgot about rent appreciation. Like, oh, rents go up. Oh, yeah, that helped. I forgot about that. So Blake's, now he wants to pay him off, and that's without, paying them off. So now he wants to pay them off because a lot of them have low balances, and I'm still like, no. So there's a little like back and forth on do we pay him off or do we buy more? So I am, obviously more in charge. And so I will say we're going to buy more, we're going to buy more. And I hate to say how many more, because really I'm just never satisfied. Fortunately, that's one problem. Maybe it's a woman thing, never happy. So I feel like I'm always going to just want to buy.
Yeah.
Until I die.
Yeah. I agree. Why not? Well, Casey, this has been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your perspective. We always like to ask our guests for 3 takeaways. So what 3 things would you advise an investor or just an entrepreneur who is looking to be brave, because you have certainly been brave all along the way, and grow, or is just perhaps feeling stuck where they are?
Go talk to a loan officer and see what you qualify for. Have your credit run and see what you can do to fix it up if you need to. Get yourself ready. The second thing I would say is figure out what strategy you want. Grass isn't always greener on the other side. Everybody's way is the best way. So which way is right for you? You've got long-term rental, short-term, mid-term, short-term rental arbitrage, wholesaling, flips, REITs, syndications. Being a private money lender, there are so many ways to make money in real estate. They're all good ways. Multifamily is another one. Apartment buildings, small multifamily. Oh my gosh. Which way is right for you? So look up the pros and cons and the risk level and the time that you have available, the time required, and, the experience level needed to be successful in any one of those areas. And then choose one of those investment strategies that fits you, because they're all great, but they're not all great for everybody. So financial readiness, pick your strategy. And then once you pick your strategy, then go find, if you have literally no experience and maybe you're a teacher or a doctor and you've only bought your own home or maybe you rent, you need help. Okay. You're going to need help. Putting a huge amount of money for a down payment and buying a property that you now own and have to deal with is not something tiny. It's a huge investment. It's high risk level if you buy the wrong thing. So you need help. Take courses, watch YouTube videos. If you have the money to pay for a mentorship, do that to expedite your learning curve and, cut out chances for failure. That's what I would have done. I would have hired a mentor to help me, and I would be really much farther along. Gosh, remember, that house was $145,000 in Fontana, and now it's $500,000.
Yeah,
you just don't get that every day. So those would be my 3 takeaways if you're just getting started.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Casey, can you tell our listeners how to connect with you online?
Absolutely. So you can find me every single day on Instagram. I think I live there. I probably have an address somewhere for Instagram.
You have a great Instagram. Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I love it. So that's where I started off. So it's Brick by Brick Wealth. And then I'm also on YouTube, Brick by Brick Wealth. And then I have my website, brickbybrickwealth.com. Just type in Brick by Brick Wealth. And I got the Twitter too, but that's too long, so it's a little bit shortened. And you'll find me in most all places.
I love it. Awesome. Tresa, can you tell me some takeaways from today? What have you gotten from Casey?
Well,
I
got a lot of great information from you,
Yes.
Casey. But the first thing that I'm just going to say is, I already said it. I love that you just, you know what you want, and you're just determined to go get it and figure it out. Whether, even from the beginning, trying to do a side hustle through Etsy, learning, I just love that. And that's really what it takes to be successful, is just knowing what you want, being determined to get it, and being willing to make sacrifices and do what it takes to get there.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that.
All right, Casey, we love to challenge our listeners at the end of every episode. So what would you challenge them to do to move forward powerfully in their life or their business this week?
This is a challenge question. So many, it depends on where you're at, in the process. But okay, here we go. So this is something that I did, and I think that this is essential for anyone to move the needle in their life. What is the one thing that's holding you back from getting from point A to point B? Is it a characteristic that you have or you're lacking? Is it, doing something that you're scared to do? I have found that if you get out of your comfort zone and do that thing you're scared of, all of a sudden you just jumped light years ahead.
Yeah.
You will find the most personal growth by doing things you don't want to do, things that you're scared of doing, things that you've been putting off. Do that thing, and you'll look back right away and go, oh, that wasn't so bad. I should have done that already.
I agree. Thank you, Casey.
Yes,
you are
thank
a rock
you.
star.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today. And to our listeners, if you have not subscribed to Without Fear of Her Future podcast, then hit that subscribe button today for new episode reminders, and share this episode with a sister so they too can listen and get inspired.
Thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and Teresa Todd, I'm Melissa Baker, encouraging you to be brave and dream big.